Hi, Diane. Thank you for joining me on this Zoom session today. Just with the whole COVID situation, it's probably best to do it by video link. So in recent discussions, we were talking about a relationship with your daughter, Stacey, and you're explaining to me that, well, actually, why don't you in your own words explain some of the complications that is happening and what you would potentially like some assistance with.
Thank you, Amanda. Well, I've had a difficult relationship with Stacey for some time now. And I find that she also has difficult relationships with other people, not just me. So I have for a long time thought that I might have been the cause of the difficulty in the relationship. But the more I look into it and the more contact I have with her, I am coming to understand that perhaps that isn't the case, that there's something inherent in her behaviour that is the cause of the problem rather than, our relationship. And it's always difficult to communicate with her because she often is very black and white in her thinking. And if you are perceived as not doing the right thing, the relationship can come to a shuddering halt. And if you are doing the right thing, everything's fine and pleasant. So I have to be careful the whole time that I'm interacting with her. And so it creates tension and difficulty in trying to have a normal relationship.
Okay. So you were telling me that, so sometimes we do look to, and you're quite familiar with astrology and that dimension in terms of everyone when they're born, the moon and different stars and planets are all in a certain pattern when that particular person is born, and so different times and years of course make a difference, but there are some traits, and this could be a potentially useful tool for you, is that and sometimes I see this in a lot of different clients, that the different traits between different star signs and an understanding of that can help make the relationship a little bit more easy to deal with, and some perhaps understanding of the particular makeup of that person. So you were saying that you are a Virgo star sign, is that correct?
I am, yes.
Yes, great. And
I'm very
so
happy being a Virgo.
Yeah. Most Virgos are, they're quite analytical. They tend to be very organized, very clean people. I notice and observe even behind you in the cabinet that all of the books are very neatly aligned. So that, is quite an intrinsically Virgo type of behaviorism, and sometimes if you have a star sign that's opposite to that, that can be a little bit confronting. And also for someone who, I think you were saying your daughter is a Leo, that
Yes.
for that particular star sign, which is a fire element and you're an earth element, with the fire element, it can tend to be a bit more sporadic in their thinking, like the flames of a fire. They like to be not only noticeable and center of attention, but free of form. Whereas with the earth signs, you tend to be very grounded, deep rooted in the earth, tend to like a plan, whereas the fire signs tend to like things to be exciting, always to have something happening. So it's just a little bit of a difference in those particular elements. Do you see any of that with your daughter and yourself?
Yes, possibly. I can understand what you're saying. When I look at the bookcase behind me, I think, well, why don't most people do that? And I'm realizing most people don't, except the Virgos, maybe the Capricorns. And yes, I have noticed that she is quite messy and disorganized in the thinking. So, a lot of the fundamentals we think differently about. So when she's at my place, obviously everything is ordered and has a system to it, and things happen in a certain way. But when I'm at her place, it's quite chaotic and disorganized. And also sometimes her behavior is like that, chaotic and disorganized. So often there's probably not a great deal of understanding on both of our parts of how the other person is, that we're not really fully understanding where the other person is coming from.
And I think that's fair enough. A lot of people, where their position is what they know to be true and correct is what's true and correct to them. But with other people, it's not. It's just they're quite different. And whether that's because of their star sign attributes or because of just the way that they are, some people who are quite messy or, I think I'm more aligned myself with what you are in terms of that very neat and tidy, structured and ordered. It gives me peace of mind. And I think if I can suggest maybe that happens for you too, it gives you that sense of order and structure, which then brings a sense of calm. I think with people who think differently or the opposite spectrum to that tend to find the order quite confronting, confining, and really they thrive in the chaos of life. And it's two quite extreme ends of the spectrum in terms of what feels good to one person doesn't feel good to another person. So I think that's quite interesting, just that understanding of that particular dualities in people's personalities. So we might move on to our art therapy exercise, because I know that you were mentioning that you are a big fan. Well, you do your own art. You practice your own art, I believe. So you've been doing that for a while now.
Oh, since I was about 5 years old, but seriously, for the last 22 years, I've been doing it as a hobby and then as a little home business. So I do art every day and I really enjoy it and get a lot of relaxation from it and meditative experience from it, a lot of joy from it. So yeah, I'm quite happy to do art at any time.
Great.
For any reason.
So that's a medium that you're really quite comfortable with, which is fantastic. So if you have some art supplies there, even if it's just some pen, paper, some different colors, if you want to grab that now, that would be great. So we can just try and get some of these.
Okay. I'll just go and get the supplies.
Okay.
I'm just getting some colored pencils and a pad. And now I'm back.
Great.
Okay.
So taking your time, beautiful. Taking your time just to really thinking about the relationship with Stacey as a person, the colors that get drawn to you, the shapes that come out. I just really want it to be an organic experience. And just in the forefront of your mind, just have Stacey present in that particular mindset of when you go to draw and what it is you draw, but really without thinking in a way too.
So you like me just go on?
I'll give you a couple of minutes to just draw organically what comes to you.
Okay. You know, you might have to tell me when to stop.
That's a true artist though, isn't it? Just to keep going. You feel comfortable to stop when you feel that you've got everything out on paper.
Okay. It's very calming drawing. Okay, I think I'm done.
Terrific. Great. If you'd like to just bring the picture up to the screen for me. That is really beautiful and very pretty. And when you look at that picture in terms of the colors and the structure, what does it relay to you? Or do you have an explanation or a feeling about the particular pictures that you've used? What comes to mind when you start to look at that particular picture?
Well, looking at it now, I can see that it's a lot of separate brown reeds, like brown weeds, rather than anything colourful. It's quite dark with the brown and then the pale blue. And then I've got them growing out of some sort of watery stream with the reflections on the water in front of them. And they seem to be all separate entities rather than connected. They're all separate.
And do the separate entities represent anything, or is that different people in your life? Or
well, I think that it represents the fact that I feel that the family is in silos, that everyone is separated, rather than connected, because there's no connecting branches or leaves between them. They're all separate.
Yeah.
And it's all a bit brown, actually.
Yeah.
Like they're actually, you know, when plants are either underwatered or overwatered, they're going brown from lack of being nourished with any fertilizer.
Yeah. And a lot of times, what's interesting about the picture is in a lot of, say, dreams and pictures like this, water can sometimes represent an emotional state or be a reflection of an emotional state. And it's interesting that it's yours, it seems quite calm, but it is reflecting what is on the surface. So I would guess that the feeling about the relationship has gone from being one of turbulence, but now of calm, but drained of any sort of color or activity
or connection.
or connection. Yeah, that's really,
It's
really
just
interesting.
there, but not really connected to anything else. It's just a separate standalone relationship, I think.
Yeah.
Mm.
And one not thriving
No
together,
family
but
connection.
yeah, interesting. That's really
Still,
interesting.
yeah, still, you know, plodding along, but each in their own separate, you know, little environment.
Yeah. And do you wish that there was this more connection, say if they were connected to the one base plant and they were all branches along one family tree, so to speak?
Well, yes, that would be lovely if they were all, you know, connected in the one garden. Yeah, with at least branches touching each other and
Mm,
connected in some way,
mm,
rather than it, you know, each one doing its own thing side by side.
mm.
Yeah.
And do you think that it's your responsibility to have to try and make this connection?
Well, I feel that it is. Otherwise, I feel that all those little flowers would just wither and fall over if I wasn't putting in the effort
Mm.
to keep them all standing. Yeah. Or the
And
one with her anyway, standing.
yeah,
And that's me up here.
that's you up there.
Yeah. Heading the charge, trying to
Heading the
keep
charge.
things together.
Yes, yes,
Being the
yes,
example.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can I put it
That's
down now? Do you want
Yeah,
me to keep
no,
it
you
up?
can put it down now. That's great. Excellent. So I think
Mm.
the what's really interesting is with this particular therapy is instead of just talking about the particular problems or issues that you have with your person, is that it gives you an overall sense of what you feel may be missing from the relationship, and
Mm.
also in terms of how do we go about, it's very, you can't make someone else be responsible or, involved with you on a certain level unless they want to be. So I guess the second thing that we can work on in our next session is then how do we learn to become okay with being the standalone reed? How does that standalone flower without the connection of the other plants? So if you're happy to discuss that in our next session, that would be great.
Okay, thank you. That's really very helpful. It helps me understand a little bit more about what's happening with the relationship and to a degree why it might be happening. But it'd be interesting to look forward to the next session to see if I can make some changes to change the picture.
Nice. Really lovely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
Okay, thanks, Amanda.